Hi friends, welcome back to my Garden Basics video series. So this is the second video in the series. So you've decided you are interested in gardening and you want to start a garden this year. Or maybe you have a little bit of experience, but you're looking to find more information. So last time we talked about your zone and your frost dates. If you have not checked that out, look back at the last video and go figure out what zone you're in and what your first and last frost date are. Those are key factors in the rest of your garden planning experience. So the second thing we're going to talk about is what to plant in your garden. But to figure out what we're going to plant, we need to figure out what your goal is first. So I'm really going to hit on two things here, mostly one thing, but I will mention the other a little bit. So are you trying to provide for yourself and your family, or are you trying to make a little bit of money on the side? For most of this video, I'm going to assume that you are trying to provide for yourself and your family. Although if you are trying to bring in income, good for you, I'm proud of you. All of this will apply to you as well. So just take the bits of information that you need for whatever your goal is and run with those. So if you are wanting to provide for yourself and your family, is your goal to be able to go out back and grab some stuff every day, harvest stuff, add it to your meal, or just be out there daily pulling stuff to have with your meal? Or are you wanting to go out and harvest a bunch of tomatoes and preserve those? Is your idea of providing, is it a daily shopping experience, or is it stocking your shelves and being able to provide for the rest of the year? If you're wanting to have like a constant supply and go backyard grocery shopping, look into indeterminate varieties and succession sowing. So a lot of tomatoes, all tomatoes, when you look at the packet, it should say on the packet if they're indeterminate or determinate. So if you're wanting to go out and pick stuff daily, you're going to want an indeterminate variety, because it will produce throughout the season. It will have kind of a steady production throughout the whole season. If you are wanting to can and preserve, look for a determinate variety, because then it will give you one big massive crop at one time, and then kind of production will die off after that. So take a look at your variety, whether it's a seed packet or if you're getting a seedling, a start transplant from wherever. Take a look at the information tag. It should tell you if it is determinate or indeterminate. Some other plants that the variety really is going to matter in is beans. There's bush beans and pole beans. I find that the bush beans, it grows in a bushy little compact plant, and it kind of gives you a big harvest all at once, whereas pole beans, I feel like they grow up, you have to trellis them, and they kind of they might produce more, but they do it over a longer period of time. So those would be good for like going out and picking here and there. For canning, you're gonna want a bush bean variety. Lettuce, head variety versus leaf variety. So a head variety is, you're gonna have like a butter head. You're gonna go out and you're gonna pick that whole head and bring it inside. With a leaf variety, you can go pick out the bottom leaves or the outside leaves, fill your salad bowl, and then leave the like inside 2/3 of the plant, and it will continue growing, so that harvest will be prolonged and the life of the plant will be prolonged. So that's really good. A leaf variety is really good for if you're wanting to go out back and pick some food every single day. If you are limited on space especially, you're going to want to really think through what you're going to plant. Save room for what is most important to you. Things like cabbage. So a cabbage is a pretty high input plant. It takes up quite a bit of space in the garden, and it takes a really long time to grow, and you only get one head of cabbage. So if you're limited on space and cabbage is not really that important to you, maybe skip that. If you are planning to use the cabbage and ferment it or preserve it in some way, and it is important, save the space for it. But it is kind of a high input, low output because you're only getting one head of cabbage. Tomatoes are a plant that is more of a high output because you're getting several tomatoes off of the one plant. So you may not need as many. Look at your variety and make sure you have chosen whether you want a cherry, a slicer, or a paste tomato. But if you only have so much room, make sure you have enough room designated for how many plants you want, because they are larger plants. While they're not really a high input, they do take quite a bit of nutrients and quite a bit of room, but they give you a lot of produce back. Carrots and lettuce are something I would say are a low input, high output plant because they don't take up much room, they don't take up much nutrients, they have a pretty short-lived life, and so that makes them, you can get a lot of them out in a shorter amount of time. So they're kind of more a high output versus some other plants. Something else to take into consideration is how many plants per person. So how many people do you have in your household, and how many tomato plants, onions, beans per person do you need to plant? There are several different places to look online. I will put a few charts up throughout this time, and they're all different, and of course it's going to vary by household, because if you guys eat a lot of potatoes, then you're gonna maybe need to plant more. If you don't eat potatoes, maybe don't plant as many. Same with, carrots, tomatoes, everything else. Just take into account what you eat and what you don't eat. Obviously, if you don't eat eggplant, probably don't plant eggplant. Something that's really helpful if you're wanting to backyard garden shop is what is called succession sowing. So some examples of succession sowing is starting a couple of zucchini plants 2 to 4 weeks before your last frost, and then planting them out after your frost date. And then 2 to 4 weeks after that, direct sow some more. And you can do that, 2, 3, 4 times, depending on the length of your growing season of the zone that you're in. And that way, your first couple plants, they start producing a little bit earlier and you're starting to get things off them. And then when you start having, pest issues with them, or the plants are kind of dying back, the next set of plants that you direct sowed is getting ready to go. And this just helps ensure a steady, constant supply of healthy plants and produce. Carrots, beans, peas, and lettuce, I like to direct sow these. These are all, I don't start any, I do start lettuce inside. But most of these are direct sown, and I will direct sow them every 2 to 4 weeks throughout the growing season. The peas, carrots, and lettuce are kind of more cool season varieties. So in the heat of the summer, I might take out one of my succession plantings because it just might not do well in the heat of the summer. But those are all great ideas, great options for succession planting. So do look into different things to succession sow if you are wanting to backyard garden shop. So that is all I have for this time. We will talk to you next time.